So, welcome from me. I'm happy that I can be here, and Jarek and I will share this workshop with you. My name is Matthias Waber, and I am a student currently at Bogenhofen in the third year in the School of Education, so I'm studying to become a primary teacher. And Jarek will introduce himself later, but I want to begin with a prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this workshop where we can learn about an easy way to grow plants, and I ask you that you guide us and you help us as we share ideas. Amen. First, I would like to know, who of you has done sprouts before? Who has raised his own sprouts before? Those are many. But who has grown microgreens before? Okay. Of the participants here, none have tried it. This is something not as known or not as old as sprouts, or not as well known. How I first was introduced to this topic was in 2017 at Fredheim, a lifestyle center in Norway. I was in a mission school, Matthias at that year, and we were there to help in a New Start program. And for lunch, they served sunflower microgreens. And I was intrigued by these little small, tiny plants, and they taste delicious. They have this crunchy, juicy taste or texture, and the taste that is nutty sunflower. And I was just amazed at this process of growing them. So that was the first time I saw about it. Then later I went to Bogenhofen to study, and in my second year I was thinking, what can I do? I would really like to have my own garden. I would really like to do something, but the garden at Bogenhofen is so big. They're growing all the different vegetables, and where could I do something that I can give my share to the campus? Something that I can do to help. And I was thinking, well, sprouts, but even sprouts are cared for. The kitchen, the cooks, they do sprouts on the side, and then they give it for lunch in the salad. And that was then when I remembered these microgreens. So I went to the cook, I talked with her about my idea. I asked if I could just serve my microgreens if I grow them and put them in the salad, and the students can just benefit from this, especially in winter, where the only salad you can buy is from the supermarket, which is important or grown without any. There's not much nutrients in it. So I was thinking, should I try to do this as a business? Should I try to earn some money? And before I even talked to the finance manager of Bogenhofen, I just started on my own. I tried to find a cheap source to buy seeds, and I bought a packet. I didn't know how much, so I just bought a 2 kg bag. And then I went to Rebecca, the gardener, and asked what seeds and what trays I could use to put the plants in. And she gave me seeds trays that they use to make seedlings. So these are not microgreen trays. I just improvised, and this was how I started. Then the question was, where should I put them? After I had sowed the seeds, where should I put this? Because they need light. So I have my dorm room, which has just one window, and I realized this window is too small. There's not enough light so that they get enough sunlight. So I was thinking, and then I realized that the cafeteria has a really large window front, similar to this room here, and this is just perfect for microgreens. So I realized I went ahead with my plan, and as I went along, I found solutions to my idea. And during the next 2 years, I was able to, not for a very long time, but I was able to give every day maybe a a box this full of microgreens, and then in each salad bowl were put some plants, and I was amazed at how much positive feedback I got from the students and from teachers and from different people. So I was very happy about this project that I could start. I tried different things, not only sunflower, because I wanted to see what easy ways or what cheap solutions can I use for seeds. So I tried lentils or linseed or chickpeas, but those were not very successful. So, I just used seeds that you buy in the supermarket, but the linseed, for example, the plants were so small it was impossible to harvest them, or chickpeas, the seeds just rotted. So on my journey, there's been difficulties. So it's not as easy, and when you realize there's one problem, then you have to find out what is the solution to that. So there's different things that we will talk about in this workshop. What are ways, or when you find problems, what things can you change to make it happen? So I was just talking about sunflower microgreens, but as you can see here, there are different types of microgreens, and I would say my specialty is only sunflower microgreens because that's the only thing I've tried with success. So I need Jarek to give you more information on different types of microgreens and how you grow them. What are these basic steps in all of the microgreens? What are things? And then I will share you steps specifically for sunflowers. What do you do with that? And also, I think something that would be interesting for you, the gift for this convention will be a small packet of sunflower seeds and some other seeds that you can use as microgreens. You can start your own small first batch of microgreens. I will try to give you some ideas what you can use to put those seeds in, and then you will have your own start already. So Jarek, okay, I'm waiting a moment for Jarek to be ready.
I think I'm ready. My name is Jarek Mitura. We started to experiment with microgreens here not long time ago, and it's very interesting to see how they grow. We can see a little bit here. And to say something general about microgreens, microgreens are actually the greens which are harvested just after the cotyledon leaves have developed. And cotyledon leaves are the first leaves that you can see when the microgreens grow. We can take here, for example, the radish. And radish has the first leaves they grow, they are cotyledon. And then in this stage, you can tell that this is a microgreen. If you let it grow longer, then it's already baby green. And baby green, from the, for example, lettuce that is harvested. The next leaf that is growing in between of those two leaves, this is the first true leaf. And that one will spring up, and that will make the heart of the plant, basically. Yep.
I can add to that. These first leaves that come out, these show which family it belongs to. For example, all the cabbage family. But then the second leaves, the true leaves that come out, they will show, for example, if it's arugula or the specific type of the plant. So these are more the general leaves, the first leaves that they have. I thought that was interesting.
Great. So when we speak about growing microgreens, here we can see actually those 3 stages. And at the beginning, you have a seed, and then when you sprout it, you have a sprout. And you may see on the picture, you may guess what it is. We will look on the other ones also. The second one is a microgreen. And this one is actually you can recognize that the radish we were looking at. And then the third stage is the baby leaf. And so we have an example of the lettuce. And so the first one on the picture, that was a sprout of onion. And those are also very nice sprouts. They take a little bit longer to grow. Yeah, but it's tasting as onion. The steps which we need to follow by growing microgreens. As you could see, we use a tray. Here we try to experiment just with something small or whatever you find. This one is just the bottom from the tray you use for flowers. And so this you can just fill out with, let's say, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters of soil free. Of course, for bigger seeds, you should use more. For example, for sunflower seeds, it's, I guess, a little more.
Yeah. I was thinking, what can you use to make it really small? So I just used cans that you, like, trash that you get when you, from your, everyday, what you eat. And with sunflowers, you need about 3 to 5 centimeters. So this works pretty well for that. Or, for example, tomato packaging, you have this plastic thing. Or, yeah, you can be really creative.
Mm-hmm. Also, for these sunflowers, Matthias used soil, just a normal compost. For these sprouts, we are using a coconut coir. So it's a coconut substrate that you buy formed in small blocks, and you put it in the water, and it will expand. And it's not so expensive, and you can use it for a lot, and then you can compost it. So it's kind of not really reusable, but of course you can then reuse it in the compost. So that's the difference, soil or cocoa substrate. Then, after you put this soil, you can sow the seeds. And some seeds you should also soak.
Yeah.
For example, sunflowers, it's good to soak before. If the seeds need some covering, then you cover them. For example, here we have a peas. And peas is a little bit bigger one, and it needs to stay in the soil. So this one it's good to cover with good layer, another 1 centimeter at least.
Can I add? Mm-hmm. To the covering, I thought when I was thinking about it, I think it's really interesting, and it gives us somehow a spiritual lesson that the seeds, they need pressure from the top so that they can send their roots down. Because if they're just on the top of the soil, they send their root up, and then they just move along the floor. They cannot push their root down. And I think in the spiritual world also, sometimes we need pressure that we can get a good grip on where we should stand. We need a good foundation.
Great. So that's true. The things that we don't cover, they still need this pressure. And so how we do it is, here we have radishes in a different stage. It was just uncovered. And they are, as you can see, they are kind of pressed down. And so when we sowed them on the ground, we did not cover them with soil. Because if we would cover them with soil, especially with the coconut coir, it's so light. So then when it starts to grow, it just lifts a whole layer of the soil. And you have all soil on the top. And so instead of that, we just don't cover it. And when we water it, very good, we just take another tray. Actually, here it's already covered. We just take one of the trays, and we just cover the seeds. And we put a weight on top. You can it's good to spread it over top, so we use like weights from exercising, for example. You can use whatever, you can use a piece of brick or something that you have at home. And you just place it on top, and you leave it like that for 2, sometimes even 3 days. And then it will look like this, and it will try to push themselves up, and it will push the roots down to the ground. And that's what you want. And in this stage, what we do, we take another tray, and we just cover it like this, because it needs still a dark. And in this stage, it will grow up and it will search for light. If we would leave it this way, it would just stay quite small, and it would be hard to cut it later. And so in this stage, we leave it at least for one more day in this position, where we can put it, or just maybe there. And it's good to keep it moist in this, so when you see it's drying, you just spray it a little bit, and then you leave it covered. And when it pops up, the next day you will see that it's springed about another at least 5 to 10 centimeters, and then it's ready to uncover it and to expose it to the either sun, or you see here we have a very cheap lights. Actually, this is a lighting that you use in the room, and so it's just set like that. That was what we had available. We were not buying anything special for that. We had it already here, so we just reused it.
You need this.
In winter, you need it because the light is very short. In summer, it's kind of okay to put it on the side of the window, for example. It kind of gets enough light. With these ones, we tried to experiment a little bit, and when we started, I just thought, no, outside is so much light. Why would I turn on this? And so we put it outside, even here on the wood. And we had a little bit problem. It was not growing as good as here, and I think it was because of the temperature changes and stress, because here it was in the morning on direct sun, then in the evening it was not on the sun, it was okay, and then during the night the temperature was a little bit lower. So we still need to experiment with this a little more, and for sure the best is just the same environment, and it just grows the same. But of course it works. The sunshine it's even better, I would say, than the lights. I think that I went back. So the watering, we cover it with the lid. We need to water it regularly. We are checking it usually every day, sometimes even more if you have it on the sunshine. Put it on the sunlight at the right time. For example, with the sunflowers, you will be speaking about that later. And we have to maintain it, keeping it. And then comes the harvest. And we will see that also with the sunflowers later. And then, of course, to consume it and enjoy it. And I think, Matthias will now take.
Okay. So I prepared some pictures that I took from my project in Bogenhofen, and some things that I learned from sunflower microgreens. So about the soaking, you need to soak the seeds, and here now I have this, and this works really well to soak. First you need to put them in a glass and cover it with something heavy so that the seeds stay in the water, because the seeds, they want to swim on the surface, and they will not all be soaked evenly. So you need some weight. And what I used, I just cut some wire mesh, which was pretty thick, and I put this inside of the glass jar, and this pushed down the seeds. And then you soak them for about 8 hours. And after that, you need to germinate them. So you need to have them in a like you sprout them basically. And you do this until the seeds, they push out the first root. When you see the tip of the root, then you need to sow them. So you need to get the right time. If you do it too late and you put the seeds on the soil, then the roots might break off when you put on the weight. So here I sprouted an example, and you can see that some are already too late. They would break off. So I can pass it through and you can look at it. So this takes about 8 hours to soak, and then another to complete 24 hours to germinate them, about that. And one that is too late. Here. Oh. You see the root has already come out almost 1 centimeter, so this is too late. Where you can see just the tip of the white root. This is, if you see the first, where to push the tip out, then probably the whole batch is ready. Because what you need is that the seeds, they all germinate at the same time. If they germinate the first seeds one day, and then the next seeds the next day, they will not be ready at the same time. You can't harvest them at the same time. So I will come to that later. This is a difficulty with seed quality. Be on time to sow the seeds. That I said that when the tip comes out, then you need to put them on the soil. And then weigh down the seeds. I was really amazed when I heard about that you need to put the weight on top of the seeds. But as I said before, it makes sense that they need this pressure to put it down. And now I use these trays, right? And I realized I put this on top of the other, and I realized that the bottom is not straight. So there's these waves, and there wasn't an even pressure. So what you use, you need to find something that is a flat surface. And I think this is where it makes sense to invest some money and to buy these trays that are even and flat and will make it easier. But if you want to experiment and just stay cheap and small, you can, I use these jars, and then I just use a lid to put on top, or I used, because they're all the same height, then I just use a big board and to put on a general or on more than one, and this worked pretty well. This different germination rate. With my seeds that I bought, I think the seed quality was not so high. What I experienced is that the first seeds come out, and then maybe one day later more seeds sprout, and when I want to already turn around the tray to give them room to grow up, then some seeds are still sprouting and they're not able to push down their root because they're too late. And I researched about this problem, and I think what you need to do is to just try different companies, their seeds, and to try to find a batch that works really well. So if your seeds are not working so well, that's just a problem that they don't germinate at the same time. I don't really know what the reason for that is, but yeah, you just need to find different brands. Yes?
How long do you let them covered with weights on the days or weeks?
Okay, the question is, how long do you cover the tray, and when do you open it? So you cover it when you put the seeds on, and then they push down the roots. So maybe one day, the next day you see that some roots are already pushed in, but the tray is still flat. There should not be so much weight that they cannot push it up. But if the weight is right, then the seeds or the small plants, they have the strength to push up the tray that is covering them. And when you see them maybe pushing it up 2 centimeters, then their stems are about this much, so maybe about this height. Then you would turn it around. You can cover it for a bit longer, but I think the sooner you put it into the sunlight, the more sunlight they get until you harvest them, and the better. So if they have only one day where they get green, they will be very light and pale and not as much nutrition. There won't be so much nutrition in them, instead of if you put them in the sunlight as soon as possible. As soon as most plants have come to this size, where they then are able to push away the seed covering and then open the plant and to be in the sunlight. So I would say this takes about 3 days. After 3 days when you sow the seeds, or 3 to 5 days, then you can put them in the sunlight. So with sunflower seeds, I saw the cycle from putting in the seed, starting to soak the seed, to harvesting was more or less 1 week. So this I actually started last Thursday, and now it's ready to harvest. But with other seeds, it's different. It can be 2 weeks, so 1 week to 2 weeks can be the cycle. Which crop can you have a shorter time? So this is like the fastest crop that you can grow. One thing I want to say is to the soil. I used compost soil, and And I have slides, so I will. This is on the last slide, so I will show you the slides. So this is where they're still being covered, and you see that their heads are bent down because they're pushing up. And here now, they're starting to open. So now I can put it in the sunlight, and they will just turn green. So this is my dorm room, and you see that they weren't really as green as they should be. So they weren't getting as much light. So then I decided to try to find a different solution to put them in the cafeteria. And here it worked much better. So this is a picture in the cafeteria. So that I had different trays at different time started. So I can harvest every day or every second day. I need to start it every second day. So I need to start another batch. So I made one tray every other day. And then I could harvest almost every day. So it takes some planning to do that. Harvesting is sunflower seeds, I think, is very easy because they all grow nice and straight, and their stems are easy to reach. With this, it's thicker, but also with the scissor is the best tool to harvest it. You just hold it from the top, and then you cut it with a scissor. And then you need to take off or wash it to get some dirt off if there's still something clinging to it. And with sunflowers, you also need to pick off the shells, and you can do this before. This is what takes the most time, because watering, you just go over it, or the tray, you just turn it over, but this you need to really take each off if it cannot push it off himself, because the shells are pretty strong. And the different germination rates cause the problem that you have the harvest at different times. So some are not ready yet. And what you just do, you just harvest them again. When the others are ready, you can harvest. So I was able to harvest maybe 3 to 4 times from one tray. And the harvest just gets much smaller the second time. And also, I experienced interesting things. For example, this is an albino plant. It doesn't produce chlorophyll. So maybe one in a couple thousand seeds cannot produce chlorophyll, so it will die. And you don't really see many plants that don't have that because they cannot grow. But if you sprout many seeds at the same time, then you see this. So I was fascinated to discover that. And now this is the compost. You see there's lots of dirt, lots of sticks and rocks in it. And this doesn't really work because the roots, they cannot go around it. They need very fine soil. So I tried to sift it, and still it wasn't ideal. So I think this coconut substrate makes it much easier. But with large seeds, they need more nutrients to be able to grow to that microgreen stage. So what you can do is you buy liquid fertilizer, and you put it in the water to water the plants, or you put in dry fertilizer when you put in the soil. That's the solution for coconut substrate. But I still like my cheap version of just going to the compost pile and filling them with dirt. And the rate is not as high, but I still get what I like. So yeah, there's different approaches. There's the cheap way and the production, the efficient way. And I think that's the question, what is your goal? Is your goal just to produce some that you enjoy to eat for yourself, or are you trying to produce for a business? Then you will try to get the best seeds, get the best trays, and to make everything as efficient as possible. But there are different approaches. So I think it's important to think about what is your goal. Yeah. And so one thing to seed quality, I was thinking, can I use different seeds than seeds that I buy in a microgreen shop that are specifically for this? So I tried 2 other seeds. This is shelled sunflower that you can buy in a supermarket that you would just use for eating. And this are bird seed sunflower seeds. And I was amazed that these worked pretty well. And I think it depends on what batch you get. If it's fresh, soon after they produced it, or if it has been sitting in the shelf for 1 year, then it wouldn't look that way. So I think it's good to just experiment a bit to see what else can you do. Can you save money somewhere? Yeah. These are different sources that we used to learn about. For example, I used this book a lot to find, what are the steps for microgreens, how do you grow them. This shop is where you found these trays, where you can buy these trays. And then this site is Rebecca's article about microgreens in this blog from this European conference, this website. So they have a blog. And then this is a very good, another workshop where Paul Deisinger shares how he grows microgreens. And what you can do is you can take a picture of this, or you can use your barcode scanner or your QR code scanner to scan this, and then you will get all 3 links, and you can choose which one you want to click on. I hope this works. Otherwise, you just take a picture and then you type in the links. Yes, let me see. Now I have 2 more things that I want to do. The first is I want to distribute to each of you. I think we have enough. Yes, that each of you can have 2, and you can share another one with another person here at this conference. I wanted that each of you gets his own small microgreen set where he can experience the joy of harvesting his own microgreens already. So everyone will get one of those cans or glasses, and you can water them. You can see when are they ready to harvest. Sunflower microgreens, they should be harvested before the second leaves come out, because then they turn bitter, but you can still eat them. So you can see, are the second ones coming out? Some are already, and then you can harvest them today, or you could harvest them tomorrow for lunch and put them in the salad. And yeah, just water them, check with your finger if it needs water. And I'm glad that they survived this trip from Bogenhofen to here, but they need a good watering, so it's up to you to take care of them. Ricarda? Yeah. So I'll pass this through, and you can pick which ones you would like. And maybe you can pass on the tray. Yeah. Everyone can take 2, I think. Maybe there will be even enough for 3. As much as you like, 1 or 2. Yeah. And yeah, when the trays are empty, you can just put them beside the chairs. And in the end, I think after the workshop is finished, I would just invite you to take all of them, whoever wants to finish them up, because I don't need any more. I have 2 jars here that we will also be able to eat during this conference. So now I want to give you the room for questions. What are things that came to your mind during this workshop? What would you like to focus on more? And Jarek, when I need your help, you can also support.
What's the density? Because I see they're really densely packed.
Mm-hmm.
If they're too dense, can I get a fungus or something?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the question is, how dense do you sow the seeds to not get fungus, or too little? You want to get the right amount. So for every seed it's different, because the plants, they need their space. When the leaves come out, they need enough space to be in the sunlight. So you need to experiment. I think it's about I only know it with inches, so 10 to 12 seeds per square inch. So maybe 2 to 3 seeds per square centimeter. So with bigger seeds, you need more space. With sunflower seeds, the idea is to have them as close as possible, but not on top of each other. If one seed is over the other, it cannot go around it with its root. It's much more difficult. So you spread them evenly, that all the seeds are separated from each other. And with mine, they're not ideal. There should be more. There's more space, but not all of them have germinated. So I think the quality of the seeds is not ideal, and also the soil. So it could be a bit more dense. Yeah. Another question.
Do you know what vitamins are in the sunflower seeds?
Yes, sunflower seeds are very nutritious microgreens. I wrote it down somewhere. Yes, they're the vitamin A, C, E, and different B vitamins. I think that's really interesting. And then also minerals, trace elements like calcium, magnesium, or zinc. And then they're very protein rich, and they have lots of fatty acids. So all the different, all the different 8 essential amino acids are included in the sunflower. And it's different for different microgreens. But we didn't mention this before. At this stage, the plant has the most nutrition, because this is the time where the plant is growing the fastest, and it needs all the nutrients to grow. So when you sprout them, you only have the nutrients that are in the seed. But when you do microgreens, then they take from the soil to start growing. And at this stage, it is said that, I think it was kale, that comparing the same weight, I don't want to say a wrong number, but it's more than 10 times more. I think it was about 40 times more, but I'm not sure about this number. Just it's a lot more than if you have the adult plant or the produce. Okay, the question comparing microgreens and sprouts. We heard a lot about sprouts they are so good. Microgreens, I think it's a newer trend. It's very in for restaurants because it's very beautiful to decorate. So I think this is one point that is for microgreens. It's just nice to look at and nice to eat. And And I think there is more nutrients in the microgreens comparing to the sprout. But then again, you have more quantity from one seed. You have a plant this size. But I think both have their place because they're just different. The sprout is a different combination of nutrients than the microgreens. So I think it's good that if you're trying to have a variety and a good, wholesome nutrition, that you try this and try that and just have a variety. Also, maybe try different microgreens. You don't just eat the same type of salad every day if you want to have something green. You like to have variety, and I think this also applies to the smaller stages of plants.
If you grow microgreens with the same amount of seeds, I guess you will have a little bit bigger amount of greens. So when we did sprouts, we use 40 grams of seeds for 1 jar, and that's like 4-liter jar, and so you have quite this amount. And if you grow 40 grams of greens like this, and they grow big, I think that you get a little bit more out of it also. It takes also longer. It depends which seed. The fastest growing is, I guess, broccoli. So if you would like to start with something, start with broccoli. It's easy to grow. And radish also. Radish takes a little bit longer, but it's also very good. Okay, so I guess that's it. And for the end, we would like to finish also with the word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us so many opportunities to learn, and also about growing plants, about growing small greens, and about microgreens that we can grow basically anywhere. And we pray that also as we grow it, we may learn more about you by observing plants to grow. And we pray also that you may lead us and guide us in the program that is still today. And so we pray in your name. Amen.